Hey there! Maybe you've heard the news about some of these ridiculous art pieces. One example is a banana taped to a wall that was sold for $120,000. Then there's a painting that's just a vertical stripe of black and white, which sold for $84 million. And another one, which is just two orange squares on a darker orange background, was sold for $28 million. And to make it even more ridiculous, the title is simply Untitled. Truly a masterpiece, isn't it? So, maybe you're wondering, why so many people are spending millions of dollars on these seemingly absurd paintings or art collections? You might think they're just bored and want to squander their money, or maybe they have a weird taste in art. Well, while some rich people can be weird, they're not stupid. It's all about strategy and hidden intentions to make or save more money. And you might be asking, how do rich people use this art to make money or save money? Let's break down why rich dudes buy these ridiculous art pieces and how they use them. Section 1. Investment. Believe it or not, art can be an incredible investment. Imagine buying a piece of art today for $10,000, and in 10 years, it's worth $100,000. That's a tenfold increase. Sounds pretty good, right? For example, there's an artist named Jean-Michel Basquiat. You might have seen his art and thought, what is this mess? Basquiat's work often looks like a child's scribbles, random lines, words, and chaotic figures. But one of his paintings, also titled Untitled, sold for over $57 million at an auction in 2016. Yes, a Japanese tycoon named Yusaku Maezawa competed with other billionaires to bid on this chaotic doodle, and he won this painting for $57 million. So, why would someone pay that much for a painting like that? Well, in the art world, people buy art also due to the artist's reputation, not necessarily the art itself. In Basquiat's case, he was just right on time, drawing during the beginning of the Neo-Expressionism movement. So he was regarded as one of the pioneers. Also, when artists die, their artwork becomes more valuable because no new art is being created, making the existing pieces rare and highly sought after. If the artist had a tragic life, it can make the price even higher. In Basquiat's case, he was expelled from school, kicked out of the house at 17, and began to live on the street. In the 1980s, he was just a street artist and did some graffiti in New York. And just at the right time, his drawing style matched the Neo-Expressionism that was going viral in the 1980s. So he started making some paintings and successfully sold his first painting for $200. Then, he continued to paint more and became famous. Despite his success, he struggled with drug addiction, and tragically, in 1988, Basquiat died of a drug overdose at just 27 years old. So his tragic life, untimely death, and pioneering style in modern art made his works even more valuable. And in Yusaku Maezawa's case, he sold this painting again in 2022 for $85 million. Given that he bought the painting for $57 million, held it for 6 years, and then sold it again for $85 million, it means he just made $28 million in profit from this investment. So that's why art collection can be a great investment too. Section 2. Tax avoidance. As we all know, rich people hate taxes, and they'll do anything to avoid them. If you've watched my video, How the Rich Avoid Paying Taxes, I explained how the wealthy use various methods to reduce or eliminate their tax bills. Now, I'll explain how they use art to avoid paying taxes. For example, let's say there's a billionaire named Bob. So, in 2020, Bob sees art as a tool for investment and decides to buy a painting for $3 million from a fairly famous artist. Then, 5 years later in 2025, Bob has a $50 million income, which is normal for a rich dude like Bob. As expected, the IRS or tax authority asks Bob to pay his taxes, let's say 30% of his $50 million income, which amounts to $15 million. Of course, Bob, as a rich dude, hates taxes and doesn't want to pay that much. To avoid paying that much, Bob thinks about how to reduce his tax burden and then remembers the painting he bought 5 years ago. Since Bob is already bored with this painting and also doesn't want to pay the full amount in taxes, he decides to use this painting to reduce his tax liability. So, Bob takes this painting to a professional art appraiser to check the value. According to the art appraiser, the painting is now worth $20 million, so Bob's investment in this painting has succeeded. If Bob sells this painting for $20 million to pay taxes, he would still need to pay 28% capital gains taxes on the sale, which means he would owe another $5.6 million in tax. So instead, Bob decides to donate the painting to an art museum. If the art museum agrees to receive the donation, Bob can tell the IRS he just donated a painting worth $20 million to a museum, which is considered a charitable contribution. When rich folks donate to charity, the IRS allows them to pay less tax by deducting the donation amount from their taxable income. So, the IRS or tax authority gives Bob a discount by deducting the $20 million donation from his taxable income. In the end, Bob's taxable income is reduced to $30 million, and he only needs to pay 30% of that, which is $9 million. Since Bob bought the painting for $3 million and now only needs to pay $9 million in taxes, he effectively spends $12 million and saves $3 million compared to paying the full $15 million in taxes. Well, some of you might wondering, why doesn't Bob just buy a cheaper painting for, let's say, for $10,000 from an unpopular artist, and directly asks the appraiser to value it at $50 million, then donates this painting to the museum and tells the IRS that he just donated a $50 million painting to avoid paying taxes? Well, this trick may have worked in the past, but now, not really. The IRS will have their own art appraisers check whether the art is really worth $50 million. Also, since Bob just bought the painting from an unpopular artist, it would be more suspicious that the price could be inflated to $50 million. If the IRS finds out his scheme, Bob will be in serious trouble. And art itself has no intrinsic value because it is subjective. If you like this painting, you might say it's worth $100 million, but if your friend hates this painting, he might say it's only worth $1 million, or not worth anything at all. So, this practice is quite risky. Section 3. Money laundering. Most people say that these ridiculous arts are used for money laundering, and it's quite true, even though it's not always for money laundering. So, what is money laundering? Money laundering is the process of making illegally gained money look legal. It's all about cleaning that dirty money to make it look clean from legal business. You can watch more in my other video here too. So, for example, let's say Charlie has made millions of dollars from super sussy activities like selling drugs, which is illegal. All criminals always use cash for their crimes since cash is harder to track by the police. But Charlie can't just store his millions in cash at home. He needs to deposit it somewhere safer, like a bank. However, if Charlie deposits these billions into a bank, the bank and the police will ask him where he got the money. If the bank and the police investigate and discover Charlie's super sussy business, he'll be in serious trouble. So, Charlie must clean this money first, and he uses art to do that. Charlie decides to buy a painting for $10 million using his illegal dirty money in cash. Now you might wonder, wouldn't the police be suspicious about where Charlie got the money to buy the art? Well, that's one of the advantages of the art world. High secrecy. Charlie can use a third party to purchase the art on his behalf, and because transactions in the art world are often anonymous, it makes it harder for the authorities to trace the money. After that, he places this art in a free port. So, what is a free port? It's a storage facility for expensive art collections with no taxes, high security, and high privacy. Most importantly, it's legal, even though very shady. One of the most famous free ports is the Geneva Freeport in Switzerland. Charlie decides to store his painting there because it's safe and discreet. Later, Charlie finds a buyer for his painting. Charlie can then sell the painting for $10 million and receive clean money from the legitimate transaction without having to pay any taxes. Now, Charlie can deposit this $10 million into the bank. If the bank asks where he got the money, Charlie can simply say he got it from selling a painting, and if the bank investigates, it turns out to be true because Freeport is legal. Actually, using art to launder illegal money is more complex than that. It requires numerous third parties and multiple transactions like buying and reselling the art several times to make it even harder to trace. But in this video, I just explained the simple concept for you. And of course, don't try this at home. Section 4. Market manipulation. In the art world, market manipulation means tricking people into believing that certain artworks are worth more than they really are. This can take various forms, but one of the most common methods is through secret deals between art collectors, art galleries, and sometimes the artists themselves. For example, let's say there's a wealthy art collector named Tom. He has connections with a gallery owner and a few other rich collectors. Together, they plan to manipulate the market using a relatively unknown artist named Jane. Her paintings are currently worth about $10,000 each. So, Tom and his friends decide to buy Jane's paintings for $10,000 each. They then invest $50,000 each, which is $200,000 in total, to create a buzz around Jane's work. This includes promoting her artworks in social circles, advertising her art on social media, and even organizing art exhibitions to increase her popularity. As a result, more people become interested in buying Jane's paintings, and the value of her work starts to rise. As Jane becomes more famous, many start to see her as a highly professional and talented artist. Her paintings become highly sought after by art collectors. Then, Tom decides to sell the painting at an auction house. As Jane's reputation grows and the auction process becomes more intense, bidders compete for more and more money. Let's say another art collector buys Tom's painting for over $10 million at the auction. As commonly the buyer will pay the auction fee, Tom receives full $10 million. After subtracting the $10,000 the original painting's price and $50,000 he spent on promotion, Tom's total profit is $9.94 million. Even though Tom still needs to pay 28% taxes on it, but Tom's still profiting about $7.15 million. And Tom's friends can repeat this process too to sell their paintings. And of course, don't try this at home. Section 5. Social tool. Well, not all rich people really like art, actually, but they still collect it because they see art as a social tool. For example, imagine there's a billionaire named Jerry who invites his friend to visit his mansion. While they're walking inside, his friend notices a lot of expensive art collections, and Jerry might say something like, "I own art pieces that are more expensive than what's in museums, so it means I'm very, very, very rich, and you better not to mess with me." After that, Jerry's friend might respect him more, seeing that Jerry isn't just an ordinary rich dude, because not every rich dude can buy famous, expensive paintings. Besides having lots of money, Jerry also needs good relationships with fellow art collectors, dealers, and famous artists. By doing this, Jerry can join the exclusive club of rich art collectors, which is full of other powerful billionaires, politicians, artists, celebrities, and more influential people. For example, Art Basel, the most prestigious international art fair, which is held annually, is filled with celebrities and powerful people. In this club, Jerry can meet another powerful individual he can collaborate with for his future businesses. So even if Jerry doesn't really like art, he collects it to gain respect among the rich and to enter the rich people circle for his future business deals. So, in conclusion, when rich dudes spend millions on what seems like weird art, it's not just because they're crazy. They might not even like the art that much, but they buy it for other reasons that could bring them more money or benefits. Of course, nobody really knows if they genuinely like the art or if they have hidden intentions, because art is hard to judge and people's tastes can be so different. So, the next time you see a banana taped to a wall selling for millions, remember, it's not just about the art, it's about what you can do with it. If you want me to make other videos explaining these topics, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.